It's tough to read the screen sideways, but generally the blue screen of death is not good. Randy and Adam here, Heavy Metal Learning. This episode is going to be very different. I've never done something like this, I would say, in the history of all the videos we've done.
This is a first.
It's a product review. Unfortunately, it's not a great product review. But I wanted to share, we have tried exhaustively to resolve this, and hopefully by the time you watch it, these machines aren't in our possession. But it's about our simulators. We have CM Labs Vortex simulators that I kind of wanted to go over some of the things we've seen with them. Again, this is purely our opinion. I'm going to show you some things we've seen and cover pieces of this. I will tell you the simulators, if you don't know our business, Extreme Sandbox, we do outdoor equipment, training, and adventures with real equipment. We decided to open a mall site in, I think it was about November of 2017. So that's where the idea with the mall was really bringing everything an indoor experience, and then also a way to educate, inspire and educate, get high school groups out, things like that. So that's where we ended up. Unfortunately, it's kind of the whole mall concept was painful, and then the simulators themselves, rough, would you say?
It almost crushed our company.
Adam was leading the mall site. So, but what we'll do today is we'll go through some of the things that we've seen. I want to show you some examples. Anyone that might be shopping for these simulators, we want to be able to share our feedback, our input. So, if you haven't seen, this is one I wanted the blue screen of death, right?
It is the terrible blue screen of death. You do not want to see this.
We've had that happen.
We'll talk about that.
We'll go over that. Let's go over, I want to show you we'll go over some of the machines and show you some things. Yeah, I'll let you say it.
So the biggest thing about them is it's as you can see, it's just shaking like crazy right now. The physics just isn't there yet for how these things work.
So he's if you see he's not touching anything, I don't even just see the screen.
Watch the monitor shake.
The whole thing is just shaking. And he's not doing anything. It's, I don't know, and I can't say if it's a glitch or not. I don't know.
It is a glitch. It's because this was a previously dug out area, and the computer doesn't know how to handle where this piece of equipment is sitting on their material. Or even just simple things that...
This was kind of entertaining.
So... that's a really strong cone.
So you get out of the machine. Now again, this is not a glitch, and I'm not going to sit there and fault the company for there's a certain thing, but realism. I mean, there's certain pieces that this is more of what I want to show is about simulator training. When you're training someone new, and this is the kind of what we're training them on, that a cone, some of those things, it's tough. I don't know the answer to this one. And I don't think it's necessarily a glitch in their software. It's just one of those things. It's one of the physics. So, and just shakes around. So, we'll stop this. You all right? Don't fall off the thing.
Yeah, so the computer just doesn't.
So, this is probably the first glitch we saw that really did impact our business. This is the excavator simulator, and this is the same one as on that other machine we showed you. This is just a bigger 5-screen. These units, this one was about $90,000. So, they are not cheap. Again, there's a full motion base. Could say it's worth the value. I don't know. I wouldn't say that now, me personally, my opinion. But anyways, the first glitch. We had trenching is the #1 scenario we would always use on this. Well, we noticed a glitch early and I'm going to show you. Well, go ahead and fire. Are you running? So there's supposed to be lines. If you can see this separation here, there is a glitch in their software. And they were, I don't know when they knew about it. I can't say it was like that when we started, or at least I can't say they were aware of it when it started, but we saw this early on. And you'll see, you can kind of see the lines over there.
It's easier to see if you point up on them.
So what happens if you actually try and dig? I forgot
what. Dig through.
So it'll dig through, you just don't have the trench actually marked. So you can't, like you'll see on here, you can see there's a way to see where it's supposed to go, but the lines that are supposed to be down there to trench aren't actually there. This would happen repeatedly. And what happened when we were in the mall, if we had a group event or something like that.
Yeah, you can really see the line here.
Yeah, you can see the line all along there. If we had a group event and this happened, we couldn't run the scenario. And this would just be, we'd have to go keep down it. So we told CM Labs about this, and unfortunately they didn't have a fix to it. We were told we had to wait until the new version came out. Go ahead and show resetting it.
Yeah, so sometimes this takes couple times here, but hopefully it'll work on the first one.
So the problem is then you have to stop it, and then you have to reload it, and you just have to keep your fingers crossed that it will load up correctly. While he's doing that, eventually, so this would have been early, a few months in, we noticed this one, and we were told there's no fix currently. We ended up, we had to wait for the new, so that's how it should look. So the lines are right there. Now this glitch also just happens to show up where we've seen it on the side one, screen over there, you just never know, but this one you see how it's marked.
Now there's a trench, or marked trench where to go.
So this was probably the most frustrating for us and the biggest red flag initially. And then also just the fact that they didn't have a fix for it initially. So, okay, so we showed you some of the glitches. Again, going back to the original contract, you know, these machines, we ended up, I think they said they retailed on the quote we had was about $400,000 or over that for 5 machines. We ended up getting a discounted rate for marketing. They saw the opportunity. So we ended up paying them almost $300,000. You know, there's a few pieces of that. About $40,000, it was $42,000 was a maintenance and support package, which they required on these. Well, I should say, well, yeah, it was actually on that we had to have the maintenance and support package. So we were kind of on our original quote. It was $42,000. That was, what did we say, a month?
3,400
like
bucks
$3,400 a month. Now that's just maintenance support. That's not, that's, you know, that's part of that $300,000, but those individual units. But at the time, you know what? My fault probably for not even, I don't know if I could have negotiated that. I guess hindsight, looking at it, I didn't realize it. But that, knowing all the issues I've had now, I am shocked, first of all, that a simulator, any computer technology would have that kind of service plan, that you have to pay $42,000 a year for 5 simulators to keep them current and for them to warranty those units. So ultimately what happened with that, because we still had a chunk of money we owed, they got a large amount of money from the finance company. We ended up in May we terminated that contract just because it was so much money and we had outstanding balance. I'm like, it sounded way too expensive. That was my personal feeling, that I shouldn't have to pay $3,400 a month, you know, as part of that contract to keep these things just running. It's not even for buying them. It's just purely operational. That was in May. So we terminated in May. What I thought was funny on that, we started having these issues we'll talk about in a second, some of those smaller glitches. We then were told...
I have to pause it. This is going to crash.
No. He had to pause that one, otherwise he's going to crash it. While he's doing that. So once we went to an hourly, I was basically told it was for service then. Beyond that, it was $200 an hour for service with a 4-hour minimum. A 4-hour minimum for a service call. So if we had any issues from that maybe on, they wanted to charge us $800, even if it took them 15 to 30 minutes to log into the machine and see if something was issue.
In my experience, I could understand an hour. That's like I don't know.
I've never heard of it. I've never heard of it. That just seems way excessive for something that, well, I don't know why they would charge that a 4-hour minimum for a service that could take an hour or under. So now, this is where we start getting issues. And I don't know if you've seen my little friend here behind. I say that because we're trying to laugh and keep this positive.
What else can you do?
Oh my God, you guys, this has been so painful, and it's just been so frustrating working with CM Labs on this. Now, this is now our 3rd or 4th machine. We basically, in July of 2018, so this is only 10, I would say just under 10 months from when these things were brand new installed, we started getting the blue screen of death on, well, it started on one machine. Long story short, they found out the solid state hard drive was defective. They couldn't even log into it, so we had to bring in an outside third-party person. Well, actually, their first solution was we needed to ship them the whole computer, which to show out.
You'll figure it out. If you don't know and you've never been trained in that, how do you take apart the undercarriage of a simulation system?
Blue screen of death. Yeah.
Unhook it all, take all the brackets off, unhook all the wiring.
So that was that was the solution. So instead we said, and this is shipping it to Canada from Minnesota. I'm just like, it was crazy. So we ended up bringing an outside third-party IT person. We found out that the hard drive was defective, and ultimately had to ship that back to them. And then they were going to replace it, send it back in. This is all at our expense for the, well, they were going to charge us for everything. They ended up, the solid-state hard drive ended up being warranted by the manufacturer. However, they still want to charge us, and I paid it, $800+ because I was in the mall in the middle of summer, and we had a machine just dead. We had groups that were booked, and I couldn't even believe it. This is less than a year, like 10 months, and it's a solid-state hard drive. Now, I'm not a computer nerd. But a solid state hard drive, how long?
When the computer guy came out, he told us that. He's like, this shouldn't fail.
Yeah,
It should be like 10 years.
10 years plus.
I don't know anything about that.
This is not an old hard drive that has a disk that those can fail. This is a solid state. So whatever. We had no choice. We had to pay the $800 to get it repaired so we can get the machine back up. Got it back up, I would say 2 months later, September, October. Second one, we saw the blue screen again. So now we're 2 machines in. And that one, again, now everything started, we started seeing this. And we kept asking them, are you seeing this with other clients? And they didn't mention anything else. Come to find out later, yeah, I was told by one of the guys they have heard some complaints on that. It was a batch of hard drives that was all bad. Now we've had, I think we're on our 4th one. And they still have, they've said they will replace the hard drives for free. However, I have to pay an IT person or however get these things out and ship to them. Basically, we have 12 computers on these 5 units. They're basically all the hard drives have to get replaced.
Yeah, there's just not one computer on this thing. There's
we've
2
only
or
done
3,
2.
yeah.
So that's where this all started really turning sour. Is these hard drives, things like that, and it just turned into an absolute nightmare. Okay, so while we went down this horrible path nightmare with these hard drives starting to fail, this is just everything that could have went wrong with this mall. Did. And it was like a nightmare for us. The CM Lab simulators definitely didn't, it was a piece of it. There were multiple pieces. But I do think when we're talking about the failed hard drives, so I got a quote, and again, it was $1,000 to replace that. Now this is our 2nd one, and they wanted me to pay $1,000. So we're not even to that point yet. When I said earlier that they were going to replace them all, that came in later at the very end, but they wanted me to pay it. The thing I also found was funny is, you hold that one.
Yeah.
Well, actually, here, hold that.
Yeah.
This was my original purchase order. It was a quote, but we went off. It is like nothing. It's
for the whole thing.
$319,590. And it's literally, this is like 4 pages. That's that. This, for one hard drive that was defective, that they knew. Here's the quote for $1,000. Appendix A, General Terms and Conditions. There are like 10 pages of terms and conditions on a hard drive. I'd never seen this before. This never came through on any of the original order or anything like that. I mean, honestly, I think I've never seen something so, I don't even want to read through all the limits of liability for them. There's a cancellation clause. There's, just all these warnings and thing in there for purchasing one hard drive. So this kind of put me over the edge of not only did I have to pay $1,000, to even get the part, I had to sign away all of these pieces to replace a defective part that was in their machine. It was insane. Okay, so now we're officially off the tracks here. This has just been a nightmare with all these pieces. The mall, we ended up closing the mall in the end of December 2018, right after Christmas. So the mall stayed open just over a year. Now, what really happened there, again, it was the mall traffic was down. We were having, again, there's a multitude of issues.
There's a lot of factors.
There's a lot of factors in that. Part of it was, for me, these simulators, where this technology scared me because I'd just never seen anything, such an expensive unit have the issues we were seeing. And it just was scaring me because I didn't know if we could sustain that long term. But what I did is I notified, what I basically did is in September, so we acquired the unit in September of 2017. In September of 2018 is when I had first sent an email saying, hey, I'd like to talk about this buyback. Now, here's where it gets really crazy. Going into this, I'm a small business owner, and I obviously can't finance $400,000, $300,000 for simulators, so I had to get a bank. Originally in April of 2017, we tried to get a traditional financing, equipment financing. I couldn't find a company that would finance them, mainly because of the residual value. It's so much risk on what do they do with these if what happens at the end, if it all goes bad. Kind of hindsight, this company was smart because that's where we're at right now. But what CM Labs did, they negotiated a buyback. So it was 60% of the original what we paid. There was a schedule. 12 months was 60%, then dropped to 40%. All this thing, and there were some other pieces in there. And that was, I was assuming, so when all that failed with that one company, we ended up going to another finance company and ultimately got approved there, and they financed them. This is in July, so a few months later. I had assumed that all the terms we negotiated with the previous one were in place. Now again, hindsight, totally my fault. I should have made sure every little piece that I had email documentation, which I still do, was in that, but I didn't have it in the original quote. So again, hindsight for me, I get everything in writing, and if my lawyer's watching this, they're gonna know that I should have got it in writing. Plus, should have had my lawyer review it because he would have seen that. But anyways, so I assumed it was. So now we're at the end of this. I notify him 12 months later, almost exactly, that hey, we'd like to explore buyback. This isn't working. So this is where the leadership gets involved, and it's insane. So it goes from $300,000 is what we got originally paid for them, like cash, they had that, down to the original was, let's see, it was like $70,000. And I got all these emails, it's just crazy. $74,500 to buy back 5 simulators that were less, like 12 months old, almost brand new, that we paid $300,000+ for. Plus, we have to pay $9,000 for the shipping, which, again, kind of expect that. That's on us. Now, again, I was shocked because I was assuming we were operating at 60%. Now, it goes downhill from there because I'm a small business guy. I want to make it work, and I don't want to do this. But CM Labs was so difficult to work with for me. They really did not want to negotiate anything there. We tried, to do anything to get back to that. Then we got into, they tried to say it was a hardware, 60% of the hardware price, not the software. However, we were never, when they bought in the original contract, it was never broken out hardware and software. So it was crazy that they were trying to come up with a hardware price. So, ultimately that got crazy going back and forth, and we just didn't get there. I showed them all the emails I had, but they said that was with the original finance company. They weren't going to honor it. And then we also, because we were out of the maintenance package, they were no longer going to do it. So that got crazy. Again, I had all the documentation to show the original one in there. That didn't matter. It had been an absolute painful process. Eventually, I had to turn it over to the finance company to try and, again, negotiate a deal. Ultimately, they are going back. I think it was just done like $97,000. So we're still a third of what we paid, which is just insane. And you look at these machines, the last straw was really the rep coming out.
That's the part what got me mad. They came out to us, do an assessment. That's great. He let us know that they were in pristine condition.
They wasn't expecting them to be this good.
That's the worst thing you can tell me.
Don't tell me that. That's what we've been saying the whole time, is these are like new. So there were some pieces there that I think was like, still they wouldn't budge. So now as a small business guy, I'm losing over $200,000. Now again, I'm not expecting CM Labs to lose money. Absolutely not. It's not their fault. However, there's got to be a middle ground. I think some of the pieces there, we tried to help market these things to resell them. We did have a local training center in Minnesota that was looking at them. We introduced. I happened to find out that CM Labs had a sales guy going out there trying to sell them new units. I found out about this, and I was extremely frustrated that I was basically, what I had learned is that we couldn't sell our units to them directly. Because they were no longer under a warranty, which didn't make any sense to me. Is like, you can still refurb them and sell them. So ultimately now they wouldn't, again, I couldn't even do it. The final straw to me was the same person that came out to evaluate them, basically offered, couldn't change the dollar amount. We're going to lose $200,000 out of the business that we are a small business, but then we can get a 5% commission if that other company buys them, the training center. 5% commission on what they resell them, which they're going to buy them for $97 from us, and I can't even imagine what they'll sell them for. $200-300. I don't know what they'll sell them for. With all that said, again, we don't do this very often. I want to read one of the last emails.
Just to give you an example.
Well, I think this is just closing this out. I don't do business this way. I have tried and tried. I tell you guys, I'm not trying to just go out and openly bash anyone. This gives me no pleasure. I just want to avoid. I want to share our experience. If that can help one person, one company.
This doesn't help.
An email. I will share anything. I will help you in any way I can. You can email us. You know how to get in touch with us. But the last email, first of all, was, I'm sorry to hear that you had to shut down the mall location. Basically, from many of their senior leaders, their chief finance person was really just concerned, wasn't apologizing for all the issues we had. That by this time they had already consented to replace all the hard drives. And I'm like, at this point, this was after we had already closed. It was just, I'm like, we need to get them back to you. So I can't even use them now. I can't use them without replacing all those hard drives and hiring an IT person to install all of those. But again, didn't really accept responsibility for the units being defective. Instead, was just apologizing we had to shut down the mall location.
Thanks.
And then going through the reasons the buyback wasn't valid, that it was with another finance company. I'm like, just all this crazy stuff. Now they're trying to, and they delayed this buyback for so long. Now it was 17 months and all these things, although we originally contacted them at 12 months. The final piece, and I told them in this, like, I don't want to get outspoken about this. I don't want to give a negative review. I'm all about providing constructive criticism to them. And I tried to share it so much with them. But the last kind of straw, the last way he signs it was, last but not least, it took CM Labs more than 15 years to build a solid reputation of provider of high quality training solutions. We will not accept any negative publicity and will not hesitate to engage our lawyers to protect our branding. This is basically threatening me that they're going to have a lawyer come after us for sharing experiences. It's insane. I've been running a business for a long time. We have had negative reviews. We have had clients that have had negative experiences. I would never threaten one of my customers that I'm going to engage a lawyer if we post something negative about them. And that is...
It's not right.
It's not right. And this whole thing has just been horrendous. It really hurt our business. We're hoping, again, my only hope for posting this is, one, sharing the experience. We hope a lot of you get a lot of value from our training videos. We fully provide, training outdoors on real equipment. That's always going to be the number one. I don't think simulators are great in a certain place. I would never myself purchase from CM Labs again. It was the most painful vendor process I've had to work with. Again, that's my personal opinion, but I just wanted to share that out there.
And we like to be transparent too, and just share with you our experiences.
Yeah, and that's all we were doing here. So again, I hope if you guys take this, comment below. I'm sure everyone's had a bad experience. I know we have. This will be the first time you'll ever see me going out and just posting something like this. So this is not something I do. But I also felt the need that this was for a small business to have to lose that much money and just get that treated that way. That's not right. So again, we're looking forward to getting these should be out our door by now by the time you're watching this video.
Cannot wait.
Adam's really excited to get them out. So again, I hope you guys, please comment below. How have you been? Tell us one of your experiences below. And again, thank you guys for any of you that listen into this, and we will see you on the next video. Peace out.